Hello again, this is Dwayne with more good stuff you really ought to know. Today I'd like to take a look at three kinds of scales. Undoubtedly you know all about major scales and minor scales, but today I'd like to look at chromatic, whole tone, and pentatonic scales. First of all, what's a major scale? Well, it's a succession of notes that goes from the root to the octave, isn't it? And it's made up of whole steps and half steps. Some are whole steps, some are half steps. In a major scale, there's whole step, half step, then whole step, half step. If we broke that down further, we'd say it had a lower tetrachord and an upper tetrachord, right? Okay, so a major scale is a ladder of notes that runs from the root to the octave. It's a ladder from the word la scala, the ladder, and that ladder runs the gamut of 8 notes and returns to the root. Okay, a minor scale, there's three kinds of minor scales. There's the natural minor, which uses the same notes as the major scale, just doesn't start on the same note. In other words, if I played the C scale from A to A, that would be the A natural minor scale. It's related to C. Why is it related? Because we just used the same notes, didn't we? Exactly the same notes, just starting in a different place. Then there's a harmonic minor, which erases the 7th degree of the scale. In other words, we put a sharp, an accidental sharp, on the 7th degree of the scale. And there's the melodic minor, which raises the 6th and 7th on the way up, ascending, but restores them to their natural state, descending. In other words, it's like the natural minor descending. Okay, so just a quick review of major and minor scales. Now, a chromatic scale is all half steps. There's no whole steps in it at all. And so therefore you can start at any point. In the example, it starts on E and goes to F and then F sharp, G, G sharp. So it's the simplest of all scales, so you don't have to wonder about what comes next, do you? Okay. Now fingering wise, sometimes it can be a problem. So here's what you do. You use your thumb all the time on white keys and your third finger all the time on black keys, except when you have 2 white keys in a row. Okay, and you can play any any chromatic scale that way. Okay, for example, if we start in our example there, it starts on E. Our second note is F, so we have 2 white keys in a row. So we have to use thumb second, right? Now we can use our third finger on the black key. Now bring our thumb under to G, third finger on G sharp, thumb on A, third finger on A sharp. B flat, I'm sorry, this is in the key of F. Then thumb under to B, and then we have 2 white keys in a row, so we use the second finger, third finger, thumb, second finger, third. Okay, so you can play it any kind of chromatic scale, starting at any note using that formula, can't you? What's the formula? Just use your thumb on white keys and your third finger on black keys, except when you have 2 white keys in a row. And of course you do in 2 instances between B and C and E and F. Okay? Now a whole tone scale is what it says it is. It's just all whole steps. In other words, if you start on C, go up to D, and up to E, because that's a whole step. Now what's a whole step above E? It's not F, is it? So you got to go up to F sharp. Whole step is G sharp. Whole step is A sharp, and a whole step above that is B sharp or C. So as we go from C to C, we have that kind of sound, and it sounds kind of spacey, doesn't it? Like you're lost in space. Okay, so let's come up a half step, by the way. Let's start on C sharp and form a whole tone scale. Okay, whole tone above C sharp is D sharp. Whole tone above that is F, then G, A, B, C sharp. Okay. What do? We use the 2 black keys together, then we use 4 white keys, and then we're back to the black keys. Okay. In the first scale, notice we use 3 white keys, and then we use the set of 3 black keys, right? So in one chromatic scale, we use the 3 black keys. In the other chromatic, I don't mean chromatic, I mean whole tone scale, we use the 2 black keys that are together, C sharp and D sharp. So my point is there's only 2 whole tone scales, because if you start on D, it's the same scale as the C whole tone scale, isn't it? You're just starting a note higher. If you start up on E flat, it's the same as the C sharp whole tone scale. You see, there's only 2 possible whole tone scales. Now, can you make chords out of those? Yeah, just take every other note, and you have that kind of feeling. You can make some real spooky music that way. Okay, the last scale I like to look at is called the pentatonic scale. The pentatonic, penta, of course, means 5, and this is kind of an oriental scale. This is used in a lot of the Eastern cultures, and has been for years. And it's like the first 3 notes of our major scale, and then you skip the 4th, and you play the 5th and the 6th. So think of it that way: 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and of course the octave. Okay, so there's no 4th and there's no 7th. So you have that kind of sound. Now go up a half step, and you can play that on all the black keys. You don't have any white keys at all. It's just all the black keys. So if you want to improvise on just the black keys, play them at random, what you're doing is you're improvising on the pentatonic scale. And if you get a little bit of an oriental sound, that's why. If that reminds you of a Japanese tea garden or something, that's why. Okay, that's some more good stuff you really ought to know. We'll see you next month with a little more.
Hi, this is Dwayne again, and I'd like to tell you about a little book that I wrote a few years back. It's called Piano Chords and Chord Progressions: The Secret Backdoor to Exciting Piano Playing. And it's a terrific resource about chords. If you want to know more about chords, you ought to latch onto this book. It's just barely over $10, $11 I think it is, and it covers all the chords and chord progressions that I talk about in my videos. It's just a great. It's not a substitute for videos, of course, but or DVDs, but it's a great summary, and it's so inexpensive that it's well worth your while to get. Here's a table of contents. You can just look down here and see all the things it covers. Starts out with major, minor, diminished, augmented, 6th, 7th, and on to 13th chords and suspensions and alterations, and then gets on to chord progressions and so on. So it's a very thorough book, and it's got a lot of illustrations. I'll just toggle through a little bit, so you can, and there's the back cover. So it's worth your while to get. So hope you take advantage of that. Thank you. Bye bye for now.